Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Friday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and it rained last night, people. Did you know that? I did. In fact, I found out that it was going to rain right around the sixth inning or so. Mets had a nice lead. Ninth inning comes around. That nice lead goes bye-bye. Thanks to a rain delay and a tarp that wasn't a rain delay and a tarp field. A 9-minute waste of time, and that's my excuse for Edwin Diaz last night. But I want to talk about last night's suspended game, which will resume tonight at 6:05, followed by tonight's game starting at 7. So I'm excusing Edwin Diaz last night. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I am. There was a good bit of discussion on Twitter last night about whether or not Diaz was terrible. I think we should all be able to agree that he is not terrible by any means. And I made the simple point that, look, pitchers are creatures of habit, particularly bullpen guys who are used to the same routine when they get warmed up and they come out to the mound and they get on the mound and they throw their pitches. Last night that didn't happen, and that's my issue with how the rain delay, non-rain delay was handled during last night's game. I don't understand how it happened. I mean, obviously, Mickey Callaway and Pete Alonso were very vocal about why are we stopping this game. To me, it looked like Edwin Diaz was saying, yes, let's get off the field. It's too wet. It's pouring. I don't really want to pitch in these conditions. We all know what happened. The umpires continued the game. Despite having the tarp brought into the outfield ready to cover the infield, and then it didn't happen, and turned out to be like 9 minutes. And during those 9 minutes, Edwin Diaz was standing around. Maybe he was throwing some warm-up pitches, but he was standing around. He was in the rain. And then he was asked to start the inning as though nothing had happened. And I get it. We all believe that these guys are machines and they should just be able to come in and do their job immediately without thought or anything. But, dude, they're not. They're not machines. They're not robots. They're human beings. They have routines that they need to stick with in order to be successful. And last night, the umpires or the Mets or Major League Baseball or the grounds crew at Citi Field, whoever it was, they screwed that up. And instead of it being a victory for the Mets, or perhaps a suspended game that would resume tonight with the Mets leading 4-2, we end up going into tonight's suspended game, heading into the bottom of the ninth inning with a 4-4 tie. And the ironic thing about it was that maybe 3 innings or 2 innings before the Diaz implosion / rain, whatever, Gary Cohen had the audacity to bring up the Justin Upton game. And I love Gary Cohen. Right, I love Gary Cohen, but last night, not once but twice, he jinxed the broadcast. First, he said, Paul DeJong is 0 for 2, just before Paul DeJong hit his home run. I mean, you couldn't have scripted that better. And then a couple of innings later, he brings up the Justin Upton game, which comes to pass. That game was awful. That game preceded the Mets acquiring Yoenis Cespedes. The whole Flores is being traded, is not being traded thing, the Justin Upton events, that game, that Padres game in 2015, led to the Mets turning the season around. We'll see what happens this year. There's no Yoenis Cespedes to acquire this year, so. As far as Diaz goes, you can't look at me and say that I'm revisionist. Hindsight is 2020 thought process. If you go on my Twitter feed, you will see that I posted as soon as the rain was pouring. I mean, not even the delay. Just as soon as it was really pouring, they showed a shot of Diaz in the bullpen, and you could barely see him through the raindrops as they were pouring down. And I tweeted immediately, "This is bad." And I just felt like it was bad. I felt like this was not an environment in which Diaz is used to pitching. And again, I'm making excuses for him, but the reality is this is not an environment in which this guy's used to pitching. He's not used to coming into the game and having the tarp go on the field and then go back out and pitch it later. This is the cause of the problem from last night, and I don't know, again, how or why, but it happened, and the Mets were so close to the 500 mark again, and it just gets ripped away right at the last second, and that's unfortunately, I think I've said it a couple of times begrudgingly, but this is the sign of a bad team. It's just a bad team. They can't get their shit together. Whatever, man. So the game will resume tonight, as I said, bottom of the ninth at 6:05, and hopefully the Mets can take a lead and get to 500 before the 7:05 game starts. It is what it is. I can't imagine we're going to see. I can't imagine we're going to be able to see Edwin Diaz in the second. Nah, never. He'll be fine to pitch second game. Never mind. I don't know where I was going with that one. Doesn't matter. So we get bonus baseball tonight, which should never have been. It certainly should never have been in the scenario that it's in now, but it is what it is. Offensively, the Mets were okay last night. The Flaherty kid from the Cardinals actually looked really good. Conforto hit a 2-run home run to give the Mets an early lead, and then the Mets cushioned that lead with the two-headed monster of first baseman du jour, Pete Alonso, and Dom Smith. Alonso with a tarp-aided double play, ground rule double rather. And then Dom drives him in with a base hit, and just a good, really nice offensive inning. A couple of batters later, Dom gets driven in. Smith had some nice base running in that inning as well, going first to third on a little blue pip from Todd Frazier. So Dom continues to excel at the plate, coming through when needed, which is it's awesome. But again, the Mets couldn't hold that lead. Jacob deGrom was excellent last night. Through 7 innings, they flashed a stat about the Mets and the Nationals being numbers 1 and 2 in the National League as far as pushing their starters. I think it was a National League stat. Maybe it was a Major League stat. I don't know. But the Mets and Nats pushed their starters. And I'm curious, could it be because both of their bullpens are a freaking dumpster fire? I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. You can't say the whole bullpen for the Mets is dumpster fire. The Seth Lugo fired another good frame last night. And, of course, Mets Twitter went nuts and said, Lugo should be the closer, Edwin Diaz should be the setup man. And I just rolled my eyes and sort of chuckled. And whatever. It is what it is. People get upset in the moment. Don't. Try not to react emotionally about this sort of stuff. You got to let things sink in a little bit before you decide this is what should happen. And, I mean, closers blow games. It happens. It happens all the time. So, nobody's perfect anymore. So that'll be it for today. The Mets, as I said, will continue their series tonight. I don't know. I'm really, really bummed about last night, and I'm not looking forward to the continuation of the game tonight. I'm just not, because I just don't feel like it's going to end well. I feel like this is another gut punch waiting to happen from this season of gut punches. But let's see what happens. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. I will be back on Monday to recap the remainder of this 4-game series with the Cardinals. Hopefully, as I'd said earlier in the week, the Mets can take 3 out of 4 and get themselves in position to be over 500, which would be stellar. But they got to win tonight / last night first. So, one step at a time. Till Monday, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go Mets.